the demo king. He's downloading that demo thing. He's the demo king. 2 table prices like puking. He's the demo king. If there's a demo, he's the first to play. He won't pay much if the game sucks. He'll just stay away. Oh gosh, it's the demo king.
Hello and welcome to the Just Another Castle podcast. I'm your host Matt, and with me this week is our resident gaming journalist Eli.
How's it going?
And our retro aficionado Unoclay.
My primary function is to assist and protect the human pilot of this armored combat suit.
I know what that's from.
What up?
Nice.
Yeah, I just started playing the Fall 2 like a little bit, but like that whole Fortnite drop kind of got in the way of like getting very far in it, so I haven't.
Fortnite drop, I get it.
Yeah, dude. You got me. You're picking up what I'm laying down.
Jokes. Oh, gosh. Anyway, for our listeners, this week is just going to be all about E3. One, because I didn't really prepare anything, and two, we didn't really get to record an E3 thing before, so we're going to do it now and talk about it. And I'm going to let Unoclay kind of lead the show. He offered, and I think that's a better idea because I'm much better just answering other people's questions.
Yeah,
so why don't you start off?
You guys are like the luckiest people because like I travel a ton. I have the insane like life of greatness of doing all kinds of fun things, but I've never been to E3, and I was like jealous just the whole week. Like just you guys know me. If the listeners don't know, I'm not a big social media guy. I casually peruse the tweets, and I'm like, I can barely look at this, like, because everyone I'm following on my gaming account is just like, E3 video games, it's awesome, I'm having the greatest time. And I'm like, yeah, I'm at work in my office here. It's great. Like I've got the tree house, you know. So I'm pumped. So well, I guess what we should start with is saying, like, because I think a lot of people who'd be listening would be like, how explain, I mean, I know the answer, but like tell the people, how did you guys end up getting to go to E3? What's your relationship and how did you end up getting to go there?
Do you want to go first, Eli?
Eli
You've
first,
gone
yeah.
a couple
Sure.
of times.
I mean, I've been writing for Nintendo enthusiasts for a while now. It's always been kind of a hobby of mine and kind of something I've done because I got really in the nitty gritty with Nintendo since I was a teen, and so writing for this website that's a decent size, I've been able to go since I was 17 years old, which is the earliest year you can go, which is pretty cool. But
how many E3s have you been to now?
this is my 4th. I skipped last year.
Man.
This is my first E3 at 21 years old, which is pretty cool.
Yeah,
Oh,
you
man.
finally drink there.
Yeah, exactly. You can finally go to parties Tuesday on Tuesday of E3 week. A company that I'm not going to name probably paid for about $120 of my drinks. So it was a heavy night.
The dirt is coming out already. Oh man, the drunkest E3 of your life and more to come. That's amazing. Oh my god, I'm so jealous already. This is amazing. And
But
Matt,
it was great. The evening ended in some pretty valiant karaoke. And next morning I was up bright and early at 7 a.m. off to the convention floor.
what songs did you do at karaoke? You got to tell us. What song did you do?
I think the one that stood out the most was "We All Live in a Yellow Submarine,"
Oh, amazing.
which, given the state I was in, was like the perfect song to sing.
Oh,
But it was pretty fun, and we'll talk more about the show itself, but I love going every year. I love bonding, and my favorite part of the show isn't just the games. It is meeting industry people. It's seeing people they haven't seen in a while. Things like that. And I mean, I've seen Don now, which is a friend of mine in the Nintendo space. A lot of people know him, Nintendan. Matt met him this year for the first time. This is the 5th time I've seen him, and every time, at a convention, whether here or in Europe, it's just really cool catching up with people.
that is just so much dirt right there. We're gonna have to dig into all of this. I am already drooling with envy. Matt, to circle back to the main question, how this is your first E3, I believe, and how did you get to go this year? What was your connection?
So earlier in the year, I posted a video saying, "Hey, here's my demo reel. Someone give me a job or something." And Sometime months before that, I don't know if I was following Source Gaming or whatever, but somehow, for whatever reason, I was talking to Push Dustin, who's the owner of Source Gaming, and I was asking him questions about him being in Japan because I thought it was interesting, and we went on like a whole thread about it, and he ended up following me, and I followed back, and then when I posted my reel, he private messaged me, and he's like, "Hey, I can give you some work if you want to. I mean, I can't pay you, but you can join the website and do some stuff." I'm like, "All right, that sounds pretty neat." So then a couple months later in the Discord or whatever, they were asking people like, "Hey, let's get prepared. Who wants to go to E3? Who can go to E3?" And basically everyone said they couldn't because it costs them money. And I'm like, "I don't care. I'll pay for it." So that pretty much put me in the running for that. It was just me and Spazzy. So it was just two of us. But
put me on your short list next year. I can afford it, but I don't have the time. I have the opposite problem. I'm like, I can afford it. When am I going to get more time off? Yeah, that's amazing, dude. Like, it just
came out of nowhere.
I know, right? I mean, I saw your one little clip you put up, for the listeners. Matt had put up like one little video, like almost a Vine on Twitter that was like just his reaction shot of him arriving. And it was like that. It's the kind of thing I envy because I'm not very good at being genuine on video. Like that's why I mainly don't put myself on video ever because I just can't be that genuine. And Matt is just like dripping happiness. Like, I can't speak. He's like, I can't speak. I'm not even. Oh man, yeah, that's great stuff. So I guess the next question, sir, we'll go back to Eli. So you guys got there. You got, Eli said he was there the night before and getting nuts. Where did you stay? What were your accommodations? What were your plans for like staying during the convention? Just a hotel? Did you stay with friends? Anything like that?
So our site was able to get us a few rooms in Little Tokyo Hotel, which is one of the cheapest hotels in the city. Which is pretty common for a lot of us low-level E3ers. Matt will tell you about his situation in a bit.
Gosh, yeah.
a lot of the situations, like what's the cheapest place we can find, and so we were staying there. It was Little Tokyo Hotel in Little Tokyo. So our karaoke ended up being in a Japanese place as well. An interesting area. The bed or the showers were shared on the floor. So that was nice, I guess.
That was kind of cool. Kind of like a hostel style hotel, like where it's like you have a room, then the shower and the bathroom is kind of a common area, like almost like a dorm or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it was fine. It was what it needed to be, but it was nice to stay with the other site writers. I love seeing them also every year because we kind of work together. We see each other on Slack pretty often, pretty much every day. We talk on Slack, and then once a year we actually see each other in person. It's like really cool. I mean, it's like pretty much the same as seeing Matt in person after talking with him the entire year on Skype.
How many people were with you?
So we brought, I think there were 6 writers that we had from our network. But we had several sites. We had 2 from Nintendo Enthusiast, 1 from PlayStation Enthusiast, 1 from Xbox Enthusiast. I'm sorry, 3 for Nintendo Enthusiast, 1 for PlayStation, 1 for gaming, and 1 for Xbox Enthusiast. So we had 4 sites represented in total.
Wow. It's kind of funny that you talk about your hotel because your hotel at EGLX was like much better. It's like it's an actual like hotel room. It has like a shower and bathroom all in one.
It was kind of funny, yeah, because the hotel at EGLX was not, but that was partially because they just rented out like the hotel, like the block rooms and everything. So it's a lot easier to get.
It's probably a lot cheaper too than like E3. Like
that's
right
true.
There, so
and it's the Canadian dollar. So like the hotel room was in a really nice hotel in a really nice room that had 2 beds, but I think it was like 140 Canadian dollars, which was really like 100 actual US dollars.
Yeah,
which is pretty cheap.
Yeah, it's like nothing
for the room that we had there anyway.
So it was kind of a crumb bum LA hotel. I know the deal. Like it's like all right, but you were having fun, so it didn't matter, right? That's
and we weren't there very long. And the big thing is that the year before, or the last several years I've been staying, we went to this hotel that's now closed. It was called Stan Main, no longer open, but that's a place where like in 2013 there was this woman found dead in their water cooler or in their water tank on the top of the building. And the story goes, I think I told Matt the story at E3, but the story goes that the woman was seen via camera walking into the elevator, and then there's no camera footage of her ever getting out. Like, we don't know what happened to her. And then, so she was disappearing. So she was gone, disappeared for 3 months. And they found her in the tank, and she had been there the entire time. So for 3 months, the residents had been like,
shut
water
up.
to like shower and drink and this and all that.
Shut up. Oh, shut up. That's
the place that I stayed the last few years.
Yo, LA, bro. LA. Just an LA story, man. Oh, that is great. All right. We got so much to talk about. This is already one of our best episodes. I'm just gonna say it. That story alone. But what Matt, I am so excited to hear.
Oh man.
Where did you stay, and give us the deeds?
So the first day I stayed at Mike's, which was good. That was fun staying with him, meeting him for the first time. I got emotional. But the hotel for E3. So Spazzy was like, "Okay, I found a hotel," and I'm like, "Cool, that's one less thing I don't really have to do." And then we get there. So how it worked was, I was at Mike's place it was like Tuesday morning, I think. I left to go straight to E3 with my stupid suitcase as well, because there was no time to like actually go to the hotel, because I had to be there for like 9 or whatever in the morning, and I left at like 8 because I woke up late. But yeah, so I couldn't go to the hotel at that point. It was just like, I'm not even going to bother. It won't waste time. So I went straight there, carried my suitcase around all day and my backpack, heavy as crap. And then when we get to the hotel, like 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock or something like that, he told me when he first got it on like hotels or whatever, it was listed as a 3-star. And then I guess some point after he saw the reviews saying like it was a 2-star, it's like, oh, that kind of sucks. And then we go in and it's basically a dump. So we go up to our room is on the 4th floor and there's no elevator. So we got to lug all of our garbage up 4 flights of stairs. Then we get there. The cleaning lady, like they just sent the cleaning, like when we got there to like punch in or whatever, check in, they're like, oh yeah, we're sending the cleaning lady in there. It's like, you got to wait. It's like, you should have done this like 6 hours ago. That's a bad sign. So anyway, we get to the room. It kind of like smells. There's like at least a dozen flies flying around. Like, oh, this is great. So we sit down there for like a half an hour rewatching the Smash Brothers part of the Direct, which was like half of the thing. And we're like, all right, well, let's look around. And he looks into the bathroom, and in the bottom right corner of the bathroom, someone spray painted rat. So like, I forget if he said there was a hole or not. I didn't actually check, but it's like, oh, that's great. I'm like, I'm gonna see if we can find some other hotels. And then he looks at the door handle, and you know how they have these paper signs that say like "Do not disturb" or whatever. Well, there was one of those hanging on there, and it had some red marks on it. I'm like, is this blood? Because I can't think of anything else it could be. I doubt it's red paint. So I'm like, if I have to ask if it's blood, let's just find another place.
Yeah, dude.
So, man, I hope he gets his refund, because there was a whole problem with that. But
wow,
that was the thing.
I can say this to both of you. Like I actually, when I was giddy, when I asked you the question, I wanted to hear like how fucking weird Mike is, like in real life, like to stay with, because I love him. And I would be terrified to stay with Mike, because I'd be like, what's this going to be like? I mean, he might be like nuts. He might be cool. For the listeners, this is our podcast mate. And I'd say this all if he was on the show this week. I'd be like, I have no idea what you're going to be like in real life, just like you have no idea what I'm going to be like.
Yeah. No, he's what you expect in real life.
Oh, great.
Yeah, he's not different. It's kind of hard for Mike to pull punches. Like he doesn't hold back when we're talking. So why would he like? Yep. How much more could it go?
I just will leave it alone. I can't wait to talk to him about it. Yeah. That's so funny. Just a remark, and we'll move on. Like on the accommodations is not really the point of this podcast, but like I can relate and I feel for you. And I would say, Matt, especially since I think this is one of the fewer times we've been into America for like a trip or something like that. LA, to me, as someone who's been to like literally, not bragging, virtually everywhere in America, is one of the crummiest cities for hotels. Period. I literally have memories of places there that I stayed that are exactly match what you guys both just described. And I kind of don't love LA because of it, but I also always put an asterisk next to it and say I never had anyone to show me around. Really, when I was there, it was always like business, or I was there by myself for some reason, or just like there for a day or something. And I always think like, this city is so weird and kind of grimy. Like all the hotels I've stayed at, all that, and like it just matches. So
yeah,
don't judge the whole country based on LA.
No. I tried to like call a bunch of places, couldn't find him. He ended up finding an Airbnb, which I'm like, oh great, this doesn't sound sketchy. You just sleep in some schmuck's house. But the guy basically gutted a house just for like his own hotel. Basically, there's digital locks on the doors, so it was all fine. What was funny was
stay in Airbnbs all the time. They're awesome. Like don't have discussion. Yeah,
what was funny was I think he like bought a bed or thought he was just buying 2 beds in a room, and he ended up buying like the whole room. So we go in and like, oh wait, this is our room, and we have 8 beds there. They're all bunk beds.
Oh wow!
Like we just took up like a whole room.
And he didn't stick any other people in there with you when you were there. Okay.
Because we had to record anyway, so it's like we get quiet. But
sometimes when I go to New York, like I've used Airbnb, and there's a bunch of people in New York that try to sell you a room like that, where it's like bunk beds, but they advertise it like you're not going to be the only person in this room. You know, that's why it's cheap or whatever. There's going to be other people, like a hostel in it with you or whatever. But well, moving on. Everyone's sick of hearing about our accommodations here. So you guys survived. You got there, and then the convention starts. Like basically, Eli, you went to all 3 days of the convention, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think. Oh my gosh, Matt also did. But yeah, I mean, it was really busy. I wasn't there for the press conferences, but yeah, Tuesday through Thursday, I was on the show floor all day or day. So I would say.
and so like. I guess it's like we're going to go from the general to the specific here, because like, you know, listeners will get to games, specific impressions, like a little, like pretty soon, but a little further in. But I want to zero in on like kind of from the top down. So in a general sense, you know, Eli, you've been there before. What would you say was your impression of E3 as a general experience this year compared to other years, and what was your favorite day?
Yeah, well, so it's funny, Matt and I went to dinner afterwards on Thursday, and we kind of talked about this. And on one hand, when you go to your first E3, I think that it's kind of mind blowing. It's like the best time, the best E3 for most people. For me, I would say this E3 is probably on one of the lower ones. And the reason I say that is because number one, there just weren't as many companies bringing playable games. Nintendo brought 3 or 4 first-party games in total. Sony only brought, I think, 1 first-party game to play on the show floor. Microsoft wasn't even on the show floor. They were in a separate building across the street. So as a result, the E3 itself had far fewer playable first-party games than we're used to, and it was very strange, and I didn't really appreciate that. It didn't help that the public, when they were let in, made lines a lot longer and just more irritating to get around, especially in South Hall. Now, this is weird.
Oh, yeah. That was usually, like all lines.
Yeah, usually West Hall, which is where all the first-party publishers are, usually that's far more busy than South Hall, which is where all the third-party publishers are. But because the first-party publishers didn't bring any games this year, it ended up being South Hall ended up being far more crowded this year. It was very strange. It was like the first year it's been like this.
Yeah, because Sony only had like 4 games, or at least they showed off in their
and Spider-Man was the only first-party game I think that was playable.
Yeah, and then Nintendo had like their own little section. Well, I say little, but
yeah, it was pretty big.
Yeah,
but yeah,
little's in like new games or whatever.
Yeah, so that's kind of how I felt. It felt like not as many games playable. More public made it a little worse. In terms of like the outside, the show, it was obviously really nice to go out to parties and talk with people, but and meet people. But the show itself, I think, was probably maybe the worst one I've been to so far.
Harsh
Wow.
words.
Well, it's not
words.
harsh because it's so great.
I've
Like,
busted
I
it.
love going to E3, so it's
I've
like the
busted it.
least of the best,
I
you
think
know?
I think you put it in good context. I mean, because like your first love can be your strongest in some ways. I don't personally subscribe to that feeling, but I know exactly what you mean. I just saw an amazing band this week for the second time, and I actually controlled my gushing about it when I talked to people because I was like, it's like that second blush where I'm like, this was one of the greatest rock bands ever, that kind of thing, and I don't want to go off too hard on it. So I was kind of keeping myself in check, even talking about the show to people. So I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
good
you have
content.
no frame of reference when you have a first time of anything.
And so now, Matt, let's swing the pendulum the other way and tell us how this is like better than religion is to hardcore religious nuts. Like tell us how this was like the skies opening and the light shining down in your face, and you were like, what?
Praise gaming.
Praise gaming, brother. Praise gaming.
Hallelujah.
He said it will be good.
Gosh.
No.
Yeah, I don't know. What
So
I should say.
your first E3,
Yeah.
you went to all 3 days.
Mhm.
What day was the best? And like kind of what were your overall just kind of impressions, leaving aside the fact that you're fully aware that Eli had a different experience.
Yeah, no, that's fine. You can have that. One thing is that it's huge. Like one hall could basically be its own convention. Like I would say normal conventions, like I'm not saying a convention expert, but I mean like from the few I've been to, like one of those is basically one of the halls for E3. And like, yeah, E3, one of E3's halls is probably bigger than that even. And there's like 3 of them, or like
Wow.
2.5. I think Concourse is like probably smaller because it's like the intermediate one, but yeah, it's huge. So if I was making appointments, I would be much more stringent on what halls and when, because some of the times we had to go like back and forth, and I didn't realize it'd be that far of a distance, and that we'd like have trouble finding them when we got to the area. Like, where's the concourse hall? How do we get to this dang room? But
Wow.
Yeah,
So
it's
that's
huge,
impressive because like I've never been to a game con of that size. Like my biggest game cons are like from what you're describing, even the lightest estimate are like the whole hall could fit in part of the whole things I've ever been to could fit in part of one of the wings of what you're describing. So that's
Yeah.
stunning. I mean, I know it's big, but that's a good visual. I mean, like I mean, I know guessing stuff like this is like, but like, let's say how many booths in one of the average halls there? Like, I know that's hard to guess, but like, how many booths in like one of the halls would you say there are? Either.
Well, it depends on like how they use the space. Like Nintendo had a whole stage for Smash, and some of that was just like we made a prop Battlefield stage, so it's using up a lot of space, but there's only so many stations, and off to the side there's like a ton of them, like side to side. So I don't know.
Okay.
At least, yeah.
Well,
I guess
I'm thinking the more not the big presentations, like because I can't picture it. Like,
I think there would have been a lot more in the South Hall, like with all the third parties.
Right, that's what I'm thinking of, the third parties. Okay, well, anyway, it's kind of a dumb question.
Yeah.
Like it's hard to estimate. It's enormous. What? So you had appointments, Matt? You didn't have appointments? You did, and it was hard to get to them all. Did you spend most of your time just breezing around and kind of just checking things out on your own, or were you kind of on a schedule throughout the 3 days?
No, it's just the one. So I think all 3 days were fun in their own ways. So the first one was just hanging out in like the Nintendo section. Basically, you line up for one game, and then after that, they have a whole section where you can go to whatever games you want, and then just line up for that for 10 or 15 minutes or whatever it is. So that was neat seeing that. And then the second day was all the interviews I prepared, which in hindsight, I probably shouldn't have, because they were all indies and you can just literally walk up to them if you wanted. But yeah, that was interesting, like preparing meetings and trying to get there on time.
And like you said, it's like so much walking that it was almost hard to get places on time, I guess.
Yeah. Well, also there was a map, but I couldn't really tell like how far is this, like not distance, but like just how to find the actual booth itself. And then on the third day, it was just kind of a free day to roam around. the first day I had the Smash appointment, so there was that. That's why we were there anyway. But the last day was just a free day where we could just walk around and check out whatever we wanted. And, you know, if we want to play this game, just stop and go and play it. So they were all different types of days, and they were all fun in their own way.
I would have had so much trouble just leaving the Nintendo area because you guys know me. Like, I would have just been like, I would have had trouble because I've been like, if I go to the Sony area, I'm just gonna be like, what is this nonsense?
It actually wasn't that hard because they only had, I don't know, maybe 10 or so games. Like, I think less than 10 games there for Nintendo.
Yeah.
Because I know
Nintendo had, I think you could probably, so there were.
Because I know they had like the card thing where if you play 6 of them, you get swag, which we did, and there wasn't. I don't think there's more than that.
Yeah. So the first party titles were Mario Tennis, which is like, why is that? There, it comes out in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Mario Tennis, Smash, Pokemon, and I think that may have been all the first party stuff. Because then they, on the third party end, they had Starlink, Overcooked 2, what is it? The
Killer Queen Black
Widow. What was it called?
Paladins.
They had Paladins. They had whatchamacallit, oh my gosh. The Fortnite, and then there was that one, the one indie game they announced, the
Killer Queen Black.
Killer Queen Black, yeah. So those are the games, but there were only 3 first party games, which is
yeah. So I'd vaguely heard that on the internet, not paying too much attention, but it was like, I think I was mentioning Donkey before the show. I think Donkey said Nintendo came and forgot to bring the games this year, and I was like. I'm just like at home, so I don't know that because I'm watching the streams and stuff, and it seems like there's plenty of stuff. But then you think about it, you're like, yeah, this is like 90% Smash. You know, like we're mainly talking about Smash, which is fine for me.
Yeah. And the thing is, I don't really mind too much. I wasn't there last year. It sounds like last year their one game was Mario, and the year before that it was literally Zelda. That was their only playable game on the show floor. But the way they did it made me like really okay with it. Like I wasn't that mad that was the only game. I just think that this year, because Smash is, I mean, we're going to argue about whether it's a remake or a new game, but, you know, Smash is Smash. You know, it's not completely different. It's a new game or, a progression in a series where the mechanics are pretty much the same game to game. There's no need to make that your only game. And I think they probably should have brought something else big. Like they could have done, had they brought a playable demo of another big title they've got down the line, then.
Well, I know this isn't a big game, but I'm kind of surprised they didn't have Super Mario Party there, since they, 1, announced it, and 2, like played it in the Treehouse thing. So it's like you didn't even have to like announce a new game like Animal Crossing or Pikmin or anything like that, or they delayed Yoshi too, so that wasn't even there. But it's like, yeah, you already have this game. Why not just like chuck it down there? I don't know.
Yeah.
That was a little weird.
Yeah. I mean, it's clear Nintendo's gone their own way with the whole E3 thing, and they are an enormous company who makes games very slowly. And the whole thing where they gave up like the classic stage show and everything like that, and then like the way you guys are putting it, it's like that they've focused for a couple of years now on like one big thing, and then everything else is kind of very much backseated. It just seems to be their plan, because my wife was asking about it as a total layperson who doesn't follow gaming, and I was like, they're just kind of doing their own thing. They don't really. They've given up on trying to even be like the other companies in that way, and I like it. It can be a bad thing for them sometimes, but you're just affirming that when you say like there were only a few games there, and it's not like, Nintendo doesn't want to show stuff before it's ready. I think Reggie just had a statement the other day that's like, I think it was in response to the whole outcry that everyone's bugging them for certain titles. We all know what they are, and he's like, when we have something to show, we'll show it. We're not going to tease things years in advance. It's just not how we roll, and that's it. So. And
I've heard some people complain. I won't say what YouTubers or anything, but I've heard some people complain like, oh, why didn't they show this or that? And I can understand some of them that like make sense, like Animal Crossing or Pikmin. It's like, okay, like it's kind of surprising you haven't shown anything, because it's probably in the works and like close somewhere. Yeah. But they like to show off games that are going to come out like 6 months away, which is fine. It doesn't always it's not always exciting, but it works. But it's also better than Sony, who announces games like 3 or 4 years ahead of time. And it's like, okay, I'm excited for Spider-Man, but you've shown this like for the last 3 years at E3. Please, like, don't do this. You did it with like Final Fantasy VII. Well, that's Square Enix's fault, but I mean, like, they do that with a bunch of games, and I think it's just annoying. It's kind of nice to be like, this game will come out within a year. It's like, okay, nice.
Yeah, and things could always go haywire. I think one of the big games that was missing was the new Yarn Yoshi game.
Yeah.
And, from what I heard, it's that, the game runs in Unreal Engine, which is a pretty high-tech, engine. And they're just having trouble getting it to run and get it going. And when you announce that early and on such an ambitious project, it makes sense that, stuff like this could happen. It's only going to disappoint people. People forget. Hype goes down.
Yeah.
This, that, and the other.
Yeah, I think Nintendo has such a narrow window of things that they can release. I'm not saying it right. Like, they don't have as many games, and they're the primary AAA producer for their own system.
Yeah.
So they really have to manage that pipeline, like where they show it and then have that hype start at the right time. And they're getting very good at it. Like in this current generation where it's like, well, you see the game, it's kind of weird we didn't see anything about Metroid this year. Like, nada.
I don't think.
What's that?
I don't think it's that surprising because you have to look at the context of how and when they announced it. When they announced it, they announced. I forget what came before. No. So the 3DS game was after technically, but I think if they announced the 3DS game, like regardless of what time, and didn't show Prime 4, people would be pissed because it's like, what, we got this stupid remake and not like a new real game. So I think their hand was kind of forced, like, no, please calm down. We're not going to ruin the franchise or anything like that. Like, with the other game you all got pissed at, like, we're working on something. Please don't hate us. But it's like they only showed a logo. So it's like, yeah, of course they're not going to show anything. It's going to be like 3 years to make.
No, it's a bad example. I mean, but like, to the Nintendo's, we've hammered it home. I think all our listeners know it's basically, it's Nintendo's way. It's not that shocking. And I'm not, even though I didn't know it until you just said it, it doesn't surprise me when you say there was a smaller number of games in the show floor. Mm-hmm. So I guess sticking with that topic for the moment, since we are a Nintendo show, and then we'll get to kind of like open it up to like what other games besides Nintendo stuff. But were there any like kind of hidden gems or anything you got to touch from the few Nintendo things you saw that you want to talk about? Either of you? Eli, you haven't said anything for a little while. Like anything you got your hands on from the new stuff from Nintendo?
Well, since Nintendo only brought a few games, I presume you also mean like games that are third-party games that are coming out
as well. Yeah, third parties, absolutely.
So I think that it's interesting because some games have interesting ideas. I don't necessarily yet know that they're going to turn out well. I think Overcooked 2 is going to be pretty great. The first one was incredible, and I write in my preview that like it was me and two British dudes at this preview. Literally never met before. I didn't know any of these guys, and within 20 minutes of playing, it's like we're best friends.
Yeah.
The game really has quite the power to bring you together.
Yeah.
And so Overcooked 2, I mean, it's really just more Overcooked 1, but it's the first game was so good that I'm really looking forward to it. You definitely shouldn't overlook it.
And they're adding, and we got to note, the biggest deficit to Overcooked 1, which I love as well, is it doesn't have online. And I love couch co-op, but I'm stuck in World 2 because my friend I started with, I don't see him as often lately. And it's like, as soon as they announced it, he texted me and was like, Overcooked 2 has online. I'm like, I knew it. Like, we'll play that together now. Like, since you live.
The only problem is, and we're going to see, and this is actually something that we talk a little bit about too, but whether it's going to have voice chat and how that's going to work, because I think the voice chat is really, really important in this game. And, Fortnite apparently is in-game voice chat, which is like, okay, Nintendo, what the hell?
Yeah.
You told us this couldn't happen? Like.
Yeah. I mean, I don't care personally. That matters a lot to the audience. I'm sure to a lot of our listeners. I don't care because I've completely adapted as a Nintendo user to just using Skype with friends. And so when we play Fortnite, like we don't even use the in-game chat in Fortnite. We've been using, because it's too much of a pain in the butt to like have the right connections to our like to have the right kind of USB thing for our switches and all that stuff. We're just using our standard Skype to talk in Fortnite. And to me, it's not a big like loss if they don't have it, but you absolutely need to talk to your team when you're playing Overcooked. There's no question. You're absolutely right. So
other than that, I think that one game I wouldn't sleep on is Wolfenstein 2. It ran really well on Switch in terms that, there are certain things that like the textures might not look as good in certain places. The frame rate might be a little lower, but on the whole, it runs like a Wolfenstein game. Like I played it and I'm like, okay, I could play this game through, be completely happy. It runs great.
excellent.
So I definitely recommend Clay. You probably didn't play Wolfenstein 2 because it was yet, or
Yeah.
even. So
I've
it's
played a Wolfenstein game. They've been around forever. I remember watching my friends play it on PC back in the day and stuff. Like I've never played one, but
Wolfenstein 2 is really, really good. Heavy recommend. I played it on the PS4, and it's definitely a game that I would heavily recommend everyone to play.
What is the name of that company that's doing all that port work for Nintendo that did Doom? And I'm just out.
So it's called Panic Button Games. I actually did an interview with the head of the studio.
Right. And how that go? Tell us a little bit about that. Like that's because Doom is so awesome on Switch. It chugs a little bit occasionally, but it's awesome. Like it works great. So if they're doing Wolfenstein and you're giving it this heavy recommend, then that's super good news because they seem to, and they did Rocket League, right?
Yep. Also did Rocket League. It sounds like they're becoming really good at porting these types of AAA games to the Switch. They told another outlet that next month they're going to announce another game that's being ported, another AAA game. So they're doing a great job, and I don't know how cheap it is to port a game or whatnot, but it sounds like sales of Doom were good enough to satisfy Bethesda. So if it's not that expensive and you got a studio that does a really good job porting and knows the system well because they've already done 3 games, then I'm really hopeful that in the future we're going to see more games coming over. I wouldn't be surprised. I think even if you saw the next Fallout, maybe like. We'll see, obviously.
Put that little dinky Fallout game on that I played for all of 10 seconds. It was like, this is not for me. But like, I thought the same thing. I thought, why would you put this dinky, dorky little sim whatever survival game on Switch and tease us with Fallout if this isn't a signal? Like, are you just gauging download interest like by throwing us a bone here? And like, how many people even download it because it's got the Fallout logo on it? So that would be amazing. And I can say like Doom is a hefty game, and yes, when the things you heard are true, when you get into, even when you're docked, like on the dock, like playing it, when you get into like one of the biggest environments with like all the demons and you're firing all your guns at once, like it slows down, but it never ruined the experience. And out of like a 20 to 30 hour campaign, it happened maybe a couple minutes of the entire campaign, where I noticed it and thought, I can feel my Switch burning out right now. Like it can't handle this much, but it's close, so that's really cool. Like I'm looking interestedly toward Wolfenstein. Isn't my favorite topic because it's a World War II shooter, right? At its core.
No, well, it's in the future. So it's like, it takes place, I think, in like the 60s.
Oh, okay. Like,
so it's like the Nazis won World War II. You're part of the
okay. It's
this hypothetical. And it's really
fast. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And the first game was in Europe. So it took place in Europe, and you're like liberating Europe. And you go to, Berlin, England, whatever. The second game is in the US. So it's just very cool going around parts of the US and seeing what they envisioned, the US would look like had the Nazis won.
Super cool. Well, all right. So that's a good recommend. And Matt, if Eli doesn't have any more, Matt, what were like for the Nintendo specific, like kind of gems of the show, whether first party or third party or second party, whatever that means. What did you see? Anything that leaps out at you that like, especially hidden gems? Because I mean, we all know the top tier stuff, but if that's what you want to talk about, that's fine. But like, what did you see that really caught your eye?
Yeah, so Nintendo's booth was mostly like third-party games, so that's pretty much what was there. I also agree, Overcooked 2. I played at Team 17's booths a little later, but it's really fun. I didn't play the first one, but it was hilarious, even just with 2 people. Killer Queen Black is not a game I've heard of. So Killer Queen was apparently an arcade game, and now this is like the console version. And I don't think a lot of people knew about this game. Like when the banner leak happened, we're like, what the heck is this thing? but it's actually really fun. It's a 4v4 co-op like action game. Basically, there's 3 workers and 1 queen for each team, and there's 3 ways of winning. Either your queen kills the other queen, you throw a bunch of berries in like your hive, and then the last one is a snail. So there's a snail at the bottom of the screen, and if you ride it all the way to your side, then you'll actually win. The problem obviously is that it's a snail and it's really slow, but it's also funny because if an enemy tries to like go in front of the snail will actually eat them. It's really funny to just like watch someone slowly get eaten alive by this thing.
It looks very like classic arcadey from what I saw, like kind
is.
of like Joust, or I can't even think something to compare to. Now, how many people play it at once? I'm not quite clear on that. Like, is it a 2-player, 4-player, 8-player?
It is 8 players, so there's 4 people on each team.
And
yeah.
Do you play online? Is it built for online?
It does have online.
Oh, cool.
But I don't know. A lot of these games that are like this are a lot more fun in person. Like Runbow, if you played it yourself, I don't think it would really be that fun even online, because the whole point is like you hear other people's reactions.
Great comparison, actually. Like that, because
well,
Runbow,
it's the only other game with 8 players that I can think
right.
of, so.
No, but it's a great comparison because I played a little bit of Runbow with friends and had to talk them into it because it looks so simplistic, and we were just doing it as a diversion instead of Smash for a few minutes. I was like, just humor me. Let's play this game for a couple minutes. I want to see if it's fun. And everybody had a great time. And it was definitely like the couch co-op laughing, like, this game's ridiculous, like kind of experience. Like, oh, it's so simple. We can play this and there's not a lot of stakes, and
it's coming to Switch. So
yeah. So that's really neat. So that jumped out at you as something pretty fun. Is that do you think it's a cheaper title? What are you thinking? Like, what did it feel like? Is this like kind of like more an indie title, or is this more like a $50 game or something like that?
No, it's an indie title. Okay. I don't know if I saw the price. I don't know if I can say, because I think it was part of like the press part of
the website. Gotcha.
But it's like it's an indie game. It's not going to be full retail price. So
gotcha.
Figure
that's
that.
Fair.
And then 2 other games I'll try to go through quickly. Paladins, I know a lot of people call it not Overwatch, which is fair because it shares a lot of similarities. And I played as not Junkrat, which was pretty fun. But the difference between Paladins and Overwatch is actually with Paladins, there's 2 things. If you select a character, you're stuck with that character for the whole match. You can't switch. And then also, as you play your character, you'll actually unlock different abilities and moves and things like that. So there's like a progression system. I only got to play 1 match for like 10 or 15 minutes, so I didn't really get to upgrade anything. But I think that is an interesting aspect, because when you're playing multiplayer games like this, it's like, okay, you're playing one character and this is how they are forever. It's not going to change. So and I just like unlocking stuff, so that's fun. But I actually kind of think not switching your character is also good, because I didn't really know who the heck the characters were, and they're like 20-something. So I'm like, I don't know, let's go with this bomb guy. So I thought he was cool. And then I get in, and I'm like, oh, he's not really a melee character. He's kind of more of a ranged character. And, I died or whatever, and I'm like, I don't know if I like this. Let me see if I can change. And I couldn't. But, I was forced to adapt and, like, give it a chance and see how it was. And by the end of the match, I actually liked him, because I figured out how to use him. So I think that is kind of good. It forces you to, give each character a shot, versus just, oh, I didn't like him for 1 second. I'm going to switch back to my main and touch no one ever again.
I hadn't looked at this game previously, so I was watching a video while you're telling me about it here, and I see the Overwatch comparison.
Mm-hmm.
And this is coming to Switch. Wow, this game looks great. Is this game already out on other consoles?
Yes, it's also out on Switch. It costs $30 to start, but like in a month or so, they're going to make it free. So you can
wait, this is already launched? This is just you played it there and it's already out. Oh,
yeah, it came out like the same day, I think.
Wow, I'll have to look it up and put it in my eShop queue, because this looks really interesting, and this is like clearly. Wow, yeah, I have to admit, like I've been super busy at work, so E3 was a completely different experience for me. It was popping into the treehouse for a couple minutes, reading a couple pithy comments on Twitter, looking at a couple Nintendo sites. So I missed a lot of stuff. This is really clear, because this is literally the first time I've seen the name on a couple lists, and the name is so kind of dry,
Mhm.
that it didn't stand out to me. I was like, yeah, Paladins, whatever. It sounds like a role-playing game. I'm out.
And because you played it, they just gave us the game for free. Like, here you go, you get all the characters and everything forever. It's like, oh, all right, I guess I'm gonna play this game now.
Wow, yeah, you sure are.
So,
How many players at a time is it? Like, it's online?
I think it's 4 versus 4. I
Wow.
can't recall. So it's something like that.
Switch absolutely killing it is the headline.
And it runs at 60 frames per second. So there you
Yeah,
go.
it looks really good. I'm watching a guy who's streaming footage of the Switch like version right now, and it just looks great. And it's not Overwatch.
Yeah.
It definitely is.
It's fun though. And then I'll be
what
quick
else?
because I don't want to take up
No,
too
no,
much
man.
time.
What
But,
else? Like
the last
what else?
like big one I played is Ninjala, and it's actually like the first game you see when you walk in the West Hall. It's funny. No one was really playing it the first day, and then by the end of the third, it's like, oh man, you actually have to wait for a line for a little bit. So that's funny. But it's kind of like a Splatoon game if Splatoon was an action game. So how it works is it's all wrapped around blowing bubbles. So you blow a bubble gum, and what you can do is either shoot the bubble at a target and trap them in your gum, or you can craft a weapon. In this case, we could only craft bats. And the bigger the bubble, the stronger and longer the baseball bat will be. But if someone hits you while you're blowing a bubble, you'll get trapped in your own gum, and then they can start kicking the crap out of you. So you got to be careful, and the bubbles can get like really big, so you have to watch out for that. And it was funny because the guy at my station told me that he's like, hey, if the gum is out, like you can smack him and do that, and no one else, I guess, was told. So I was just like killing everyone, which is funny. But yeah, I really liked it. You can like climb on walls and stuff. I heard there were control problems there, but I didn't get to climb on walls or anything. But
yeah,
it's a fun.
It has a little bit of
multiplayer
Splatoon
game.
art style. It's got a little bit of Splatoon. There's a couple other things in there I can see in this artwork and stuff. That there's not much online that I'm googling around really quick, like trying to see some trailers. Apologize for not being ready for this.
No,
Did they show this before?
No, they showed it like in the direct for the first time.
Okay, that's probably all I'm thinking of because I like kind of recognize the baseball bats in their hand. But that's all I'm really like picking up on. But yeah, it's got a little bit of a Mario Odyssey environment, like Donkey. It's just because of the city background or whatever.
Yeah.
And then the Splatoon thing full on. Interesting. That's a game it would be easy to overlook the same way Splatoon was like kind of something that a lot of people might have missed the first time they showed it. But it's like, looks a little kiddie, like or something the first time you see it. But you're saying the gameplay was really interesting, so that's it's good news. Is that game out already, or is that coming? That's a coming game.
It's next year.
It's a little long ways off.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay.
I don't know if it's like I don't know
ahead.
if it's an indie game or a full retail game either. So we'll see how that works out.
Because it's like I'm just getting really shocked and realizing how out of the loop I've been because like the Paladin thing that you're like, no, that's out now. And I check the eShop like every other week, and I kind of like scroll back till I see stuff I remember, and like I'll mark a few things and just keep filling up my queue, like like we do, and like that I didn't even notice. But again, it's like titling can be so important because that name just doesn't leap out at me. It's a fine name, but it doesn't tell me anything. It doesn't stick with me. So I'm glad we talked about it. And then
it sounds like a medieval game.
Yeah, or a role-playing game or something like that.
Exactly.
It's like, yeah, whatever, like might be cool. Same with Ninjala, because it's like it's not a terrible name.
But again, nothing about it like sounds like gum. It's like, okay, you're ninjas and hallelujah.
It's like
I don't know.
It's a little kitty, like a DS game or something. You're like,
yeah,
okay, like whatever. But this is important, and I hope our listeners appreciate it because I would have no idea. Like I'd be like, there was some games, there was a lot of things in that trailer. Nintendo's doing a better job these days with like featuring stuff, like kind of coming back to stuff as it launches. If you like use their news channel at all, or if you follow their social media, like kind of highlighting stuff. So maybe the stuff will get a little bit of more like promotion. Yeah. And maybe just me because my life is nuts right now. So I'm just like not paying attention to gaming as much as I should, even though it's the gaming time of year. So I guess since you kind of hit the highlights, the obvious question would be if you want to talk about Eli kind of covered. He said he was disappointed by kind of like he thought the show was a little lower in like game turnout. were there any specific games that you were hoping to see, Eli, or games that you did see and then just, you don't have to sit here and diss them on the podcast, but like maybe give us an overview of stuff maybe that wasn't quite working or you want to see improvements or
Oh,
something?
you mean like Sonic and Pokemon?
No, I don't know. That's what I'm asking. So
Hey,
tell
those
us.
are the same games I would say. So
Is Sonic the big disappointment of the show or what?
Yeah, Sonic wasn't great, and it was like one of those things where one of our writers went and started asking game developers some questions like, so what sets this apart from the previous game? How are you going to stand out from Mario Kart? And one of the responses like, well, we're really aiming for like a budget market. This going to be a cheaper game. I'm like, okay.
What?
yeah, I didn't even know that until I like found an article after.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, so this game's $39.99, and it looks like it's kind of shovelware in the way that it's.
Oh no! And
It's kind of sad because
weren't you guys excited for this game? I think Matt and you weren't you guys talking this up a few months ago? Am I remembering incorrectly? Like that you were excited for this game?
Yeah, I thought it would be cool. We liked the previous games.
Yeah.
That's a shame because I have no interest. Like frankly, it's like I'm coming from a different world there that I'm like, Sonic, imitation racing games. Like I have so little interest in like the idea that someone would really need to like. I feel like we talked about it on the show, and you guys were like, I was just like caught off guard that you guys were like, no, we care, and I'm like, really? You're not being ironic? Like, like you think a Sonic racing game is gonna be fun? Like, okay, whatever, but that's a shame. I'm not gloating that Sonic would fail. That sucks. Yeah. Did you get hands on with it, or was you just saw video?
So, yeah, we played it.
Oh, okay. Well,
the other game is Ninjala didn't end up actually for me being as fun as I hoped it would. It was a little. I mean, some of the mechanics they showed off weren't really used in the gameplay, and the kind of seemed a little bit too beat 'em up and not that strategic. So that was one, and then Pokemon was just like. I mean, I get the market it's for, but it's not a great game as a result.
Which help us out in case we're not Pokemon experts. Which Pokemon game? Because I get confused even now.
So it's like the game Pokemon Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu. It's like a mix. It's supposed to be like the middle ground between Pokemon Go, the mobile game, and Pokemon, the mainline Pokemon game. So it's kind of like dumbed down, but not as far as Pokemon Go is. Okay. It's a shame because the game actually looks really great. The region is really engaging. The character animations are great. I love like running through the world, but they got rid of enough mechanics to where it seems a little pointless to play. Like, first of all, it doesn't connect to your mainline Pokemon games. You can't trade Pokemon to the mainline games.
Yeah.
So it doesn't feel like you're contributing to your grand, Pokemon adventure. And more importantly, it's just like a lot of the mechanics have been dumbed down to the point where it's like I would rather not spend my time like just going through a game that's not as fun, like a remake that's less. Like usually they add features on remakes, and this is like less features.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing. Like you'll get more out of playing the original one than a remake of it. Yeah, I agree.
That's a shame to hear because I know you guys are Pokemon nuts. If someone's just joining the show, like. All three guys. Well, Mike's a Pokemon fan. Like all three of you are like big Pokemon fans, and like you two especially. Like I think of are like, along with one of my friends in real life, are like the biggest Pokemon people I've ever met. Like it's just like, good Lord, you guys are nuts for that series, and that's a shame to hear. It's not looking like something you want. I mean, let me ask you this, and I mean we don't have to go. I mean we'll probably have whole episodes about Pokemon as this comes out and everything, but like. Is this not that it's so we accept that it might not be the game you guys like, but could you see this game being a system seller or being a big thing for Nintendo?
I say so because I see enough people saying like, I haven't played a Pokemon game before, but I'm going to pick up this. It's like, okay, there's clearly an audience that this can apply to because I think like for us kind of veteran fans, we're like, man, you stripped out like half the game. That's not fun. But for people who only played like Go and are like, hey, I remember those Pokemon. That's kind of cool. We played the mobile game.
Right.
And this is like, if you want a little bit more, it's like, okay, this is kind of neat. You don't have too many battles because you're just doing trainer battles, not wild ones. And you're just doing, trainer battles and gym battles, no wild Pokemon. You can actually see the Pokemon on the field, which I think is really important because even us as Pokemon fans will like go into a cave or the water and will like get pissed off because every 5 feet there's a stupid Pokemon and you just want to run. And I'm sure a lot of like casual people will probably feel the same, like just about the grass, like, oh man, I'm finding Pokemon all the time, this is annoying. So the fact that they can see them and like avoid them if they want to, I think is smart. And probably some other changes I can't remember. So I think it'll appeal to them, and
Cool.
it'll do well anyway.
That's really what I want to hear. I mean, because I have no stake in the game. Like, I don't. At this, it's like it. We could have a whole episode about. Like,
we're getting our real game next year anyway. It's fine.
So, yeah, exactly. Okay, good attitude. Because it's like, well,
that's how I feel about it. Like, sure, I would play a remake, maybe, if they like added enough new features. Like, I would actually want like different forms of Pokemon and whatnot. But I mean, whatever, they're not. So next year.
That's a good attitude. Like, because like Nintendo's on a pretty good roll here. I'm inclined to trust them a little bit more than I would have 3 years ago with like the way things were going, where it's like, if you guys would have said this isn't great, I'm like, that's bad. That's just, you're wasting the license. Like, the Pokemon company's wasting the license and hurting Nintendo by doing it. But that's cool. Like, whatever. As long as it gets if it there's got to be games for all different kinds of people, and a system that's as hot as Switch is. Like, we want that. We want there to be games for all kinds of people. Like, whether it's the Fortnites for the teenagers of the world, or the hardcore RPGs, the Xenoblades for the real dorks, whatever. Like, we want that on the system. So, I've accepted it. It's not everything is for me on this console, but there is so damn much that it really doesn't matter in some level. Yeah, good attitude. Eli,
go on.
You're such a Pokemon nut. You felt the same, I take it?
Yeah, and I think the game will be okay. And obviously not as many people know the in-depth details of like what the mechanics actually look like. Some people might just buy it because it is a Pokemon game. And I'm not that butthurt because as Matt talked about too, like next year we are going to get the real game.
Well, I'm glad you're not butthurt over it. That's the worst way to be when it comes to Pokemon. What else? I mean, like, I've kind of hit the highlights. I've kind of hit the lowlights with you guys. Matt specifically asked me to ask you, Eli, about Spider-Man. Like, okay. I don't know.
I was going to say, before we move on, I'll talk about like the one bummer, since it's part of the same thing.
Yeah,
it's just the one. I was really bummed with Sonic or Team Sonic Racing or whatever. So I thought Sonic Racing Transform whatever was better than Mario Kart. I really like the transforming aspect because, basically each lap of each track was a whole new track. So it really freshened things up and made it a lot more interesting. But when I heard they're doing like a different game, they're not using all the Sega properties, they're just going to do Sonic. I'm like, eh. And then when they showed it off, I'm like, I'm not sold. And I played it and I'm like, I'm not getting this because it really doesn't feel like. So I can commend them for trying something different because I could understand, like, you know what, maybe we can't really up the ante with another Transform game. So, let's just do something completely different and try to be different that way. And that's fine. But they didn't really take advantage of the team aspect. There's a couple of abilities. So when you choose, let's say, Sonic, your other two teammates are automatically Knuckles and Tails. And anytime you drive behind them, you'll get like a boost. You can share items between each other, and when you do these kind of mechanics, you power up a meter, and when you fill that meter, you basically get the invincibility star, and that's basically it. Like, what place you end up in the end of the race will give you so many points, and then your whole team's score is compared to the other teams, and that's how you tell if you win. So you actually do have to like work with your team, because you can't just be like, I got first. If your other two teammates got last, like, you're going to be last. But yeah, if they want to do something like this, I think they should have taken advantage of it more. I'm writing impressions on it. I forget. I brought up some mechanics they could have brought in. I forget them now, but I think something was just like, maybe there's shortcuts that you can only access if you do something as a team, or maybe certain formations. So if you're separated from each other, you'll all get a speed boost. But if you stay closer, maybe you'll get a defense boost where you won't get hit for items for 5 to 10 seconds or something. Something that makes your team actually have to work together. But they didn't really do that. They're just like, you get a boost if you trail, and then you can give someone an item. And they're like, okay, well, that's not enough to justify this change. So on its own, like, it's not even like doing anything crazy.
I'm really sorry to hear that's really not turning out right. I mean, I'm not a Sonic fan, but respect.
Me neither. They just made a good game.
Respect the blue blur, like
yeah. The blue blur gave me blue balls.
Toads. That's great. Great bumper sticker that I would never want on my car.
Gosh.
That's pretty unfortunate to hear. I mean, they brought him back in Smash, which I'm not happy about. They could have cut him, but I know a lot of people love him. It's just terrible. So at least he's got that going for him. He's not totally a wreck. Yeah, that's unfortunate. So that's a letdown, but it sounds like you saw a lot of games you were more impressed by. So, is that when did you say that game's coming out? Is that?
I don't know, but I also don't care.
Yeah, you don't have
it's probably like in the fall, I assume.
Oh, I see on your list. Before we move on too much to kind of the wrap, and I know we're supposed to ask Eli about Spider-Man. We'll keep teasing that. Matt, you played Mega Man 11, a game I'm sure the whole world is excited to see. You got your hands on with that?
Yeah, I think I talked for a while. If you want to shoot a question at Eli.
Yeah, let's do Eli. All right, Eli, it's Spider-Man time, man. Then we'll get Mega Man 11, kind of go back to that, because I really want to hear about that game. So, and Spider-Man was on what platform? Is that a PlayStation?
It's a PlayStation exclusive, developed by, whatchamacallit?
Sucker Punch.
Sucker Punch,
yeah,
yes.
They did Infamous.
Yeah. And so another superhero game from them. So two things. I think the game is very similar to a lot of other superhero games. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that a lot of superhero games are getting closer to one another in the way that they're open world. You've got mainline missions, the side missions, whatever. A lot of them are very similar. A lot of them are brawlers. It's just kind of like, what power do you want to use that time, when you play this game? In this case, obviously, you have the web. So, you're able to punch and use your web to take down the enemies. But I think the real cool thing about the game, and you can see this, I think, from some of the trailers, is there's a lot of environmental things in the game. So you can use your web to, throw grenades back at enemies. You can use your web to bring a cabinet down, to grab a barrel and sling it at enemies. And I think that's kind of what makes this stand out, because there's a lot of stuff in the environment you can use to your advantage to take the enemies down. And honestly, it makes your life a lot easier if you do that. Just punching the enemies, Spider-Man isn't super powerful when it comes to just punching. It's not like Batman in that respect, and so really, you should be using your various environmental advantages to take down the enemies. That's something I enjoyed. The one complaint I had in the combat is that you don't have the ability to counter, which, I mean, it's weird I have the complaint, because it's like, well, they just chose not to, have a counter. But after playing so many Arkham games, I've grown so used to the character having the ability to counter, and that's just not an option here. You have the ability to dodge, so you can dodge an enemy's attacks, but you then have to attack separately. You can't just counter something that's coming at you.
That's weird, because Spider-Man is all about his spider sense, so you think that would be the prime time for a counter?
The spider sense only allows you to dodge. It's very strange. Other than that, the open world's really nice. The game's kind of pretty, and web slinging around is something that I really enjoyed. I thought that it was really cool slinging around the city. Obviously, it's done very quickly and efficiently, and climbing is fun. And I think that the one complaint is just that, or if you consider it a complaint, it's a lot like other superhero games, so it's not like you're getting that much new here if you played the Arkham games. And then just the personal pet peeve is that there's no counter button.
Yeah, that's like the biggest part of like Arkham. I played two of them. Like, loved the ones I played. Well, I liked loved and liked two of them. And that I think that's everybody's like impression. Like, oh, it's Arkham. Again for Spider-Man. So interesting. I can completely relate. It's interesting to imagine not having the counter in Arkham is like, wait, what's the game then? Like that is the game, like countering and then getting into combos and stuff. But it looked good to me. I'm not going to be able to play it unless they bring it to a Nintendo console, basically, at this point, or someday maybe if I decide to go nuts and become a Sony guy. But like, no, it did look cool. So, would you say it's a wait and see? Would you say it's a game you're excited about? You're kind of just saying like, if you want more superhero, it's more.
I haven't played a hero game in a little while since Arkham City. I mean, since Arkham Knight. Arkham Knight was not that great in my opinion. So really, the last great one I played was before that, either Infamous, the PS4 Infamous, or Arkham City. So I'm really, excited for this. It's a type of game that I would be happy to play again. I pre-ordered it.
Okay.
So
You're all in. Okay, so that's a good recommend. You're all in. You pre-ordered, so there's the answer. So neat. It did look cool. Like it's the kind of game I wouldn't, if I was in the mood for it, I wouldn't like shy away from for sure. Like I saw some videos of it because heck, it's Spider-Man. So
yep.
Yeah, I guess we'll circle back, Matt. We're getting close to a long run time here, so we'll start to think about like what we want to say at the end here next, like maybe final thoughts. But Matt, I definitely wanted, out of all the games I saw on your list of the games you played, that's definitely Mega Man 11. Let's maybe make that the last one, and we'll go to the closing thoughts or whatever. So Mega Man 11,
Sure.
You got hands on with it. How much you get to play of it? What'd you think? Is it coming out good? You're not sure. What do you think?
I really like it. I didn't actually beat it because apparently you do have E-tanks in the demo. I actually saw someone use it and I completely forgot by the time I got there because I'm an idiot. And also with these kind of games, I'm rather impatient, so I'll just try to like bum rush through something, even though the smarter option is to wait and just let something pass. So it's my own fault. They give you like 4 or 5 lives, so a decent amount of time to play through it. But no, I really like it. The visuals are really good. Oh man, I don't really know what to say about it. It's a Mega Man game.
Yeah. So I didn't
Mega.
really see or play any of it. Like, so what you're kind of talking about, I'm a little lost, and maybe some listeners are. Like, when you said you didn't really beat it, are you saying like there's a like time demo or like a limit?
So yeah, I'll explain it. So basically, Mega Man, you get 8 different boss stages, and in this demo, rather than like time, they just give you like 4 or 5 lives, and there's empty pits, so you could die for various reasons. I think you probably each person probably gets like 10 to 15 minutes to get through, or will take that much time with how many lives they get. But yeah, you get to play Brickman stage, which was, I think, the first character they showed off. They actually teased it in one of the Legacy collections as artwork, which was interesting. But yeah, I'd say this. Oh, right, I forgot they have different abilities. But the one standout I noticed is that unlike some of the earlier Mega Man games, there aren't really cheap deaths, at least in this one level I played. So what I mean is, in older Mega Man games, you'd like jump, and then the screen would follow you or whatnot, but there's like an enemy in the air, and then you hit the enemy, and then you fall in the pit and you die, and you're like, well, that's kind of garbage because you couldn't prepare for that. But that doesn't seem to be a problem, at least for Brickman stage, and I don't think it'll be for the whole game. I'm not actually sure if that's because they designed it that way, or because for the first time it's actually in widescreen. So the problem could have been back then you only had so much space, and that was just a fault of standard definition TVs, whereas now you can see so much more. It's kind of, they can't really do that because by the time it's on the edge of the screen you'll see it coming, sort of thing. So regardless, that's nice that that's not a problem. But they added so they have the charge shot and the slide compared to 9 and 10, but you also have like this gear system. You basically 2 different power-ups you always have on hand. So one of them is you can do more damage, and then the other one is you can slow down time. and you would think that it would be overpowered, but with how long you actually can use them for, it's really not. It's only a couple of seconds, and then if you use it too much, there's a cooldown period and blah blah blah. So I mean, I still forgot to use it because it's still new, but I don't think it'll really break the experience, and you can always not use it if you really want. But it's a nice addition to make this version of Mega Man different.
Neat. I mean, I think everyone here is a Mega Man fan. I know Matt, you're a big fan. I'm a big lifelong fan. That's cool to hear. I've been a little skeptical. We talked about it many episodes ago because, like, for me, there's a little bit of like difficulty for me facing like a modern looking Mega Man and taking it seriously because I'm just like, I'd rather have like just more 8-bit, like if I'm gonna play a Mega Man game. But I'm open to the idea and I'm excited. Like, and I'm glad to hear it sounds like it's turning out well. Like, because I'll most likely play it. I never played 10. I never got around to it. I'd like to sometime. But yeah. So great. Did they give you a date? Are you allowed to talk about that? Have they announced when that game's coming? Is it this year?
It's October.
October. Okay, I just couldn't remember. So
also the controls are really tight. It feels like any other Mega Man game. So in case I don't know, you were worried that it would be slippery or something, you can jump right in. It feels perfect.
That's good to hear because that is for 100%. You remember very aptly. Like I even have like my complaints about the original like NES Mega Mans where sometimes there's the tiniest bit of difference of control, especially from Mega Man 1 versus every other Mega Man. I feel like he's a little heavier in Mega Man 1, and I always expect him to be heavier than he is in the later games. And then as you get into the SNES versions and stuff, I'm like, this isn't Mega Man anymore. You're floaty. Like to me, or whatever. Like I haven't spent enough time playing with him in Smash to like gauge it because like I love that he's in there. But his weapons stink, at least for my play style. So I'm just like,
I don't like him either.
I die instantly if I play as Mega Man. I'm like, this is ridiculous.
He's all projectiles. I don't like it.
Yeah, and his jump is so weird and everything like that. So it's just like, so it's like his weight feels off there to me, but that's because I'm playing Smash and I expect somebody to like leap to the top of the screen when I press jump. So it's like, come on. But well, neat. So Eli, your turn again. Final thoughts. E3 2018, it's in the bag. Yep. You had a great time. You were glad you went. It wasn't your favorite, but what do you want to say? Like I just like open the floor. Like, what do you want to say? Final thoughts.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, I think Nintendo didn't perform up to what I hoped they would. I think Xbox probably had the best show in terms of just showing games, but. Yeah, Nintendo was disappointing. I think they went a little too much depth for a mainstream audience on Smash, as much as I love it. And so I was kind of expecting more, and that's kind of my overall takeaway from the Nintendo side. And it is what it is. We all love Smash and everything, but it did seem a little bit bare bones.
Okay, all right. I like the honesty. I mean, you've been to it before, and. You're giving Microsoft the gold star this time, like, which is interesting to hear, given that they're kind of it depends. Depends who you ask, who's the black sheep of gaming right now or whatever. But
it's fine. They have been for the last couple of years.
Yeah, I don't want to say that because
they keep canceling games, not have enough exclusives. They have nothing else like the rest of this year, I think.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah, that. Thanks for confirming that because honestly, like, I'm never quite sure because I don't pay attention to the other companies enough. But that's the impression I always get. It's like everyone's giving Sony crap about their cross-play or lack thereof these days, but Microsoft is always like the one that's like, duh, what's going on with you? Nothing. Like nothing. Like, and just the weird turn that we Nintendo fanboys have gotten to see in this last, the ups and the downs, the highs and the lows. Like to see Nintendo be back, maybe not have a great E3, but in general be having a really great couple of years here. Like, it's like they don't put a big premium in E3. It feels like it's not their big focus. It's just one more event in some ways to them. It feels like, but I mean, maybe I'm wrong. But Matt, final thoughts.
As far as like Nintendo's Direct, I would also agree with Eli. They delayed Yoshi and didn't show it. They delayed. Well, I mean, we thought Fire Emblem was coming this year. They didn't actually give a date before, so it's not really fair. But we kind of expected that this year. It's it's delayed sort of till next year. Smash literally took up like half of the direct, which, I mean, I liked it, but it's also way too much. They should have made it like a separate thing. But as far as like being at E3 goes, I had a lot of fun. I met some cool people. I don't know if he's gonna listen to this, but Jammer is a really cool guy. I watch a lot of his content.
Jammer?
Yeah, and Ben Moore from Easy Allies, the old game trailers guys, made their own channel.
Nice.
They're really cool. And yeah, had a lot of fun. Also, In-N-Out Burger is overrated. You're all a bunch of crazy people. I had it. The patty's way too thin. I don't know what you're talking about. Harvey's is still good, best in my mind. Eat me. You're all crazy.
Rating our fast food now, coming into our country and dissing the Big Lebowski's favorite burger.
Yeah.
Like
we actually went to Eli and I and Spazzy went to a Fat Burger like the last day. That was better.
Right,
that's better than In-N-Out Burger. So go eat at Fat Burger.
Right,
you might as well.
As a vegetarian, I turn my nose up at all this greasy garbage.
You're eating it. I'm making you eat it. You're gonna be like Squidward from SpongeBob, where he's like, "No, I don't eat Krabby Patties. They're all garbage." And then you leave you for a second, and you're just stuffing them in your face. You're like, "I haven't had meat in 17 years."
17 noobs. Yo, all right. Well, that's great. I'm glad we get the fast food review in here too at the end. So, well, this has been great. I am jealous even more than I was before this started. So, Matt would typically wrap up here by saying, if you have questions or comments, you should leave them wherever you heard this podcast. Mm-hmm. If you are somebody who we care about and like, and you want to be a guest, you can get a hold of us, and we'll probably say no because we like each other more than you. But it's cool. You can try. If you're Mike, you'd say something like, "You can see me watching Oversplotch and some Smirsh, that young Smirsh." And Eli, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Paul Salon. My writing, I got a bunch of previews up at NintendoEnthusiast.com. I think that's all I got for now.
Those are all good places to find you, and thanks to Nintendo Enthusiasts for sending you to the show, because we wouldn't have had much of an E3 wrap if they hadn't. So that's excellent. And
fun.
And Matt, as you like to say every week to me, where can people find you?
You can find me at the Mango Viking on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, and I'll also have my impressions on Source Gaming. I actually put out an article today on Smash, and then probably sometime later this week or next week, the other games will go up.
That's great. Both of you guys you're ascending into gamer journalism heaven. I'm going to stay here on planet Earth as a retro gamer, just dusting off my old yellowing consoles and not publishing any articles. So see you, Nat. I don't know how to do the wrap up, so I'm just winging it here. So like Matt likes to always say, leave luck to the heavens and leave gaming to Nintendo.
Yellow submarine, yellow submarine.